that's your diagnosis, you've got MS. And actually that was the saddest moment. I was thinking, go to your happy place. I didn't even know where my happy place was anymore. But luckily what I did have was the image of my son. I couldn't give up because he was there and he needed me. Hi, I'm Elise Clayton and I'm an RTT therapist and transformational coach. So my journey to becoming an RTT therapist all began in a very different world. I used to work in the world of PR and marketing and worked in agencies for over 20 years. And it looked like on the face of it, I was winning at life, but actually I was keeping this big secret. And the secret behind the scenes was that I was absolutely dying and crumbling inside because every day was a struggle and was a battle. As a people pleaser and someone who was always striving for perfection, I just couldn't let anybody else see that at all. So I just pushed it down, but it actually just got worse and worse. So I would wake up in the morning having had maybe 3 or 4 hours sleep. I would wake up in a pure panic with my heart racing, my stomach feeling horrible. I would get up, I wouldn't have breakfast because I felt too sick to. I would go and get on the train or the bus to go to work. And that journey would consist of me sitting there and worrying and thinking about all the bad things that could happen that day, all the things that might go wrong, all the things that I had to do and how was I going to do it. And my mind would whir, and it would be so overwhelming that my mind would whir, my heart would be racing. I would be sitting there in absolute dread and fear. And not just that, I would catastrophize about everything. Everything was worst case scenario. I never had the outlook of today's going to be a great day or I'm going to go out and have a great day today. Every day was what can go wrong. And I wasn't sleeping or eating because I hid it. I hid it all. And I sat there and I said, I can't do this anymore. This is going to make me chronically ill. And it was almost now like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I did get out of that world because I got pregnant with my son. And it took me away from that world. And I thought, great, everything's going to be fine now because I don't have to be there. And I can live my life and I can actually breathe. But unfortunately, after I had my son, I had lots of weird health symptoms. I just woke up one morning and the vision in one of my eyes was really weirdly darkened, like I was wearing sunglasses, but just on one eye. I went to the doctors. He said, look, you've got a new baby. It's probably hormonal. It's a migraine. Gave me migraine meds, sent me away. But that issue with my eye lasted 3 weeks. I was having a nice holiday. We'd been swimming in the pool and I suddenly got really intense pins and needles in both of my arms. So, you do the natural thing, which is to kind of squeeze your palms to try and get rid of it, but it just wasn't going. I remember standing in the shower one day and crying because I had just had this intense pins and needles still in my arm. It was constantly with me. And I thought, what if I've got this for life? What if this never goes away? How am I going to cope with having this all the time? And I just broke down in tears and sat in the bath and just sobbed. I absolutely sobbed because I thought, this isn't right. And the doctors aren't giving me the answers that I want. And eventually I went back to the doctor and I said, you've got to help me. And I broke down in tears in the doctor's surgery. And he said, well, we've done all these tests. We've done blood tests. We've done this. We've done that. Nothing's come back for any of these things that we would suspect it is. And I remember his words so clearly. He said, okay, if it would put your mind at rest, I'll send you for an MRI scan. So I said, yes, it would. Thank you. And actually that was the saddest moment, is that when I was in that MRI scanner and they were scanning me and I was thinking, go to your happy place, I didn't even know where my happy place was anymore. But luckily what I did have was the image of my son, because he was keeping me going through all of this, because I knew that I couldn't give up because he was there and he needed me. And finally I got called into the neurologist office and he said to me, right, we've got the results of your scan. It shows that there are lesions on your brain and on your spine. That's your diagnosis. You've got MS. And at that point, I weirdly just felt instant relief. I didn't feel anxious. I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel upset because I'd kind of been anticipating it. And actually him saying that there was genuinely something wrong with me was like validation that I wasn't going mad and that there was something wrong. And I started to take the pills and went through that whole process and spent probably, I would say, 6 months, 8 months of my life just mourning my life. My life was over. Got MS, probably going to end up in a wheelchair, probably going to end up with lots of different symptoms that I can't manage and be a burden on my family. But that's just how life is. That's completely it. But then I always think, in anybody's life, whether you've gone through pain or heartache or struggle or grief or loss or a physical health condition, I always feel like eventually you have an epiphany moment. I was just addicted to social media at that time. That was like my outlet to the outside world. And I was scrolling one day on Facebook, and that's actually where I got introduced to Marissa. And I genuinely have Marissa to thank for helping me to rebuild my self-confidence and self-esteem after that diagnosis. I actually found that as my confidence was raising, some of my symptoms were improving. For example, I was struggling with really, really chronic fatigue as part of MS. And I was finding that my kind of energy levels were raising as my confidence was rising. And I was thinking, there's something in this. And that's really what then sent me on this little journey of discovery into healing. And I watched a lot of Marissa's stuff about healing your body and managing pain. The more I was reading about them and the more I was doing the exercises, the better I was feeling. And at this point, you know, I'd been watching a lot of Marissa and I thought, she talks about rapid transformational therapy. And actually, I feel like I need to now, I've done the work that I can do on myself, but now I feel like I need to do the next level thing, which is maybe to have a rapid transformational therapy session. So I found a great therapist. I went to see that therapist and I did a session. And I said, look, I blurted out everything that I'd been keeping on my shoulders for years and years, everything to do with anxiety, stress, the struggles I'd had as a child, the struggles I was having with MS, the worries that I had about not being a good mum. I shared everything. And then we did the session. And after I came out of that first session, I remember feeling like this huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. It was weird. It was like suddenly my head had really cleared for the first time in, I can't even remember how long. I felt super positive. And that session, I've got to say, made me realize that the whole way that my journey with recovering from MS started was understanding why it came into my life. And it broke down into not having needs met in my childhood that I needed met, but also as well telling myself I was going to get myself chronically ill, because your mind always does what it thinks you want it to do. So I told it that day where I broke down in tears, I can't do this anymore. I am going to make myself chronically ill. And I did make myself chronically ill. But what happened when I made myself chronically ill? I got those needs met that I'd never had met before. I got that attention that I'd been craving as a child that I always wanted and never got. MS came into my life because I had been pushing all of these repressed emotion and pushing aside all these needs that I needed met and that hadn't been met. And I just let them flow. I let it all come out. I released it. It was an incredibly intense and emotional session. But afterwards, I felt like I'd finally shared. I finally feel like I'd shared and let go of everything that I'd been hanging on to for 20, 30, 40 years of my life. It went back that far. And that really was the key to unlocking my healing journey. And after that, I did another couple of sessions because I did one around kind of confidence building and self-esteem. And then I did one on kind of like goal setting and, rediscovering my life purpose and who I was as a person, because I realized when I was working in that world of PR and marketing, I'd been living the life of someone else. And suddenly I realized I had no idea who I was. And I did these 3 sessions and it changed everything for me. It changed my life. It changed my life and my mental outlook, but it also changed me physically, because suddenly a lot of the symptoms that I was experiencing were much less. Some of them completely went. I was practicing some of the things that I'd learned in this session actually afterwards to heal certain parts of my body and to work on certain parts of my body that I was struggling with symptoms with. And as I was doing this, I was thinking, why aren't more people using this? Why aren't more people using this to get themselves well? Because at that point, I was part of lots of different support groups, whether it was anxiety groups or MS groups or chronic health groups, and everybody just wanted to feel better. And I thought, this has helped me to feel better. And I thought, maybe I could do RTT. Maybe I could help these people like the lady who'd helped me. Maybe I can help. Maybe I can make a difference as well. And so I took this huge leap of faith and thought, I'm going to train to be an RTT therapist. I didn't know that I had the skills to do it. I was still worried that I probably wouldn't have the mental capacity or the cognitive capacity to do it because I'd struggled so badly with fatigue, with brain fog for such a long time. But I thought, I've got to give it a go. I've got to do it. And so that's when I signed up. I thought, life has to change. I want to build a life for myself now. I thought my life was over. It's not. I've proven that to myself. So now it's time for me to help others. So I signed up for the RTT course, and my gosh, it was amazing. As soon as I started, I think the thing that hit me, first of all, was what a wonderful community of people that it is. Everybody was in the same boat. Everybody was so supportive and so lovely. And it's like we were just this little family in this cohort of people that I was in. You know, they instill that confidence in you from day one. I remember doing the very first session with Marissa, and she came on and she did this session, and it was all about becoming a phenomenal therapist. And she did this amazing group hypnosis with us all. We had to shut our eyes and she talked us through it. And it was ultimately like, you are a phenomenal therapist. You have this amazing sense of confidence. You know, you have these great detective skills, which are going to help you as a therapist. You empathize with people. You enjoy what you're doing. And I was just like absorbing these words and thinking, yes. And I came out of just that one session with Marissa feeling amazing and having that instant confidence that was, I can do this. The training itself, fantastic. The virtual classroom sessions, so in depth. I mean, they talk you through everything, but I think what makes it different from other courses that I'd done previously was you're actively practicing as well. So you do practice sessions with people on the virtual classrooms. You do practical exercises with the trainers. It was really in-depth training. And then you'd also do the kind of self-study in the modules yourself. But there was always someone to support you there. I had a mentor who I would go to with any questions or any concerns that I had. And I also felt supported, whether it was by Marissa, whether it was by the wider training team, or whether it was by my fellow students. The support there was immense. The training, fascinating. And because obviously I'd experienced RTT myself, I was like just binging it all. I just wanted to get it all done as much as I could. I did kind of think, will I be able to work it around my son? Because that was really important to me, and having that work-life balance, because I never wanted to go back to old Elise, working around the clock, working 24/7 and not acknowledging the important things in my life. But actually I've managed it really well, because they also discuss with you, you know, how you run your business. So yes, if you want to go all out and run your business full time, they take you there and they help to give you the marketing skills to do that. Or if you want to scale it so that you're just doing 2 clients a week or 3 clients a week, you can work it that way as well. It's really up to you, but they always give you support along the way, not just through the RTT training, but also through how to launch and market your business after. I finally graduated and I pretty much launched my business straight away. Again, a little bit of anticipation, a little bit of anxiety because I'd never launched a business before. But actually I found that when I launched my business, people already knew about me as a person. I had been talking about my journey with RTT, with anxiety, with MS on Facebook for probably about 2.5 years previously. So I'd been talking about my struggles, but I'd also been talking about my healing journey, all the things that I was learning. I was sharing things that I'd learned in the hope to help other people. So when I launched my business as a therapist, people were like, we already know that you do this. And so I found that I got clients pretty quickly because of that. But the reason I got that was just because I'd been real, raw and open about my own journey and my own experiences. And so that when I talked about RTT, other people kind of related to me and said, yes, I feel like that, particularly people with anxiety. Yeah, I feel overcome with anxiety. And if that helped you, maybe it could help me. And that's how my business began. Now I work part-time in my therapy practice. I get to choose the number of clients that I get every week as well, which is really good because I like to work it around my son because he's 10 now. And I'm a single mum to him. So, you know, I juggle that kind of work-life balance, but I have it. And that's what I didn't have previously. I had no work-life balance previously. It was all work, 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 work. So that I love that I can just fit my practice around him and doing the school runs and choosing how many clients I take on a week, actually. So at the moment, I'm doing 2 clients a week, but I could easily be doing 6 clients a week, 8 clients a week, 10 clients a week. All because of the kind of promotional work that I'm doing and the way that I'm sort of marketing my business. But I love the way that you do have that option of you kind of scaling up or scaling it down so it fits around your life, particularly as a single mum. I think that's so important. So I love to hear client success stories. And actually the most fulfilling thing for me is watching a client transformation take place. And sometimes you even see that in a session. So for example, I've had a couple of clients recently where we do a tool in RTT called RFPI, and I can actually see a physical change in their body while I'm doing this. And afterwards, when they come out of it, they express that kind of feeling that I expressed when I first did my first RTT therapy session, which was, I feel like a weight is lifted off my shoulders. And even just giving people that space to breathe is huge. But I did an amazing session with a client recently who was absolutely entrenched in anxiety. Anxiety was taking over their life and they were unable to work anymore. They were just kind of like doing sort of part-time job at home, but very reclusive, very similar to my story. And I do feel like that's probably my superpower as a therapist, is that I can empathize with people who've struggled with really bad anxiety. But they were saying, I want to do something. I want to do something more fulfilling, but I can't even get out of the house. We did 2 or 3 sessions, just kind of, well, 2 sessions around anxiety and root cause of anxiety and why it had come into their life. A session around kind of lifting that anxiety, and then a session on self-confidence and self-esteem. And actually that client is now training to be an RTT therapist themselves because, again, like me, got such amazing results, transformed their life, gave them the confidence to go out again and to be confident in themselves and to choose a new career. And now they're training. And that, I had a conversation with them recently. She was like, I am absolutely loving this course. I'm loving the direction that it's taking me in. I'm a completely different person. And now I want to work with people who were like me and were like you, and to help them on that journey too. And I just can't thank you enough. And stories like that really hit me hard, because we do need more RTT therapists out there spreading the word and the power of this modality, because it really does genuinely transform people's lives. So yeah, it's been a long journey to get to this place. But actually, I'm at a point in my life now where I wouldn't be here doing a job that I love without MS coming into my life. And I genuinely do think that life sometimes throws you curveballs, and huge curveballs and challenges, so that you can overcome them to get you to the place where you're supposed to be. And without MS, I wouldn't be here, and I wouldn't be able to empathize with my clients, and I wouldn't be able to help them the way that I can. So I'm strangely grateful that it came into my life, because it's taught me so many lessons, and it's got me to where I am now, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And now I love the way that I'm on my life purpose, my life path, to helping other people to change and transform their lives too.